Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Reporter. Coming up on today's show, the Las Vegas Raiders have cut a player and also have added somebody to their active roster. We'll talk about exactly what they did. And then the latest injury news here around the Silver and Black, because there's a lot of big names that everybody needs to know. Is Jacobs going to be playing? Is Crosby going to be playing? Is Kolton Miller, Andre James going to be going up against the Chiefs? All those answers are going to be on here today's show. But if you're looking for wall-to-wall Raiders coverage all year long, whether it's about the draft, free agency, the trade deadline, the playoffs, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and we're also going to be live later on today for a little Saints-Rams. We always go live on Thursday, and you already know. We'll be live on Christmas Day as well, so subscribe. All right, so if you don't follow me or if you don't pay attention to my social media, I did put out a video about 4 or 5 hours ago that the Las Vegas Raiders were going to be moving on from Malik Reed. And so, because of that, I was going to make a video about them having 2 open roster spots, but here's the thing. They only have 1 open roster spot as it stands right now. And when you think about over the past 48 hours, some of the moves that the Raiders have made, they moved on from Malik Reed, you moved on from Nesta, Jade, Silvera, so 2 players there that would have been on your defensive line. And I was thinking, all right, maybe they go out and try to add somebody. Maybe they promote somebody from their practice squad. And it's exactly what they did. The Las Vegas Raiders promoted center Hroniss Grasu to the active roster this week, which doesn't really surprise me all that much considering the fact that they activated them last week going up against the Chargers. And as far as I'm concerned, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Like, whatever y'all did against the Chargers last week, shit, let's do it again this week. So Hroniss adds some of that extra depth here. And I'm telling you what, I know Dylan Parham is only in his 2nd year, but the more and more people I'm talking to, I'm really starting to wonder if Parham is starting to fall out of favor with the Silver and Black. It's definitely going to be something that I'm going to be watching over the final 3 weeks. Also, more Raiders news that happened. The Silver and Black, they obviously signed Marquand McCall 2 days ago to the practice squad, but they also worked out quarterback Anthony Brown, who had a little bit of run with Oregon. Tyreik McAllister, running back special teams specialist, they worked him out. And then Reggie Roberson at the wide receiver position. Speaking of Nesta, Jade, I was told, according to a source, that the Raiders might bring him back on the practice squad. We'll see what happens with him clearing waivers and whatnot, because obviously if a team claims him, he's going to want to go play for another football team. But if he's just out there on the free agent market, he is a player to keep in mind that Las Vegas could end up bringing him back and having him battle it out on the practice squad. They like him. He's just still too much of a raw overall talent. So Nesta Jade might be coming back here to this team. And then coming up next here on the show, this is the injury news. Like, yeah, the Raiders made 2 roster moves today, but the reason why you should watch this show is for the injury updates that are coming up here right now. First, this is a really good sign. Kolton Miller, he ended up practicing today. He missed last week against the Chargers. He played against Kansas City in Week 12, did not go up against the Vikings, if you remember, in that one also, and has really been battling with a shoulder injury and hasn't really missed a lot of time since he's been playing. But if you watch the show, I want to say yesterday when I dropped a video, or maybe it was 2 days ago, Antonio Pierce was talking about how he was hopeful that Kolton Miller was going to be able to go, and the fact that he practiced today for the first time since the Silver and Black dropped 63. This is a very, very good sign that he's going to be able to go against Kansas City. Another player that is expected to go against the Chiefs, Andre James. Antonio Pierce jokingly said in his press conference on Wednesday, like, hey, this is Chiefs week. Everybody is going to be trying to play. It is all hands on deck. When you're trying to take down the king of the AFC West, when you're trying to take down the defending Super Bowl champs, if you're not motivated to play in that game, I'm sorry, I don't want you a part of my team. So the fact that Andre James, Kolton Miller, it looks like that they're going to be able to go, very good news here, which means I am going to be guessing that the Raiders' offensive line is going to be Kolton Miller, Dylan Parham, Andre James, Greg Van Roten, Jermaine Illuminor. But again, I was told by a source today that Dylan Parham might be falling out of favor a little bit, and because he's the Ziegler-McDaniels guy, I'm not saying that it's a lock that he is going to be the starting left guard up against Kansas City. So with that being said, what's your confidence level in the Raiders' offensive line? You know, we always talk about Josh Jacobs. You always talk about Aiden O'Connell. It don't matter if you don't block for no one. So what's your confidence level in this O-line? Scale it from 1 to 100. 1, you're not confident at all. 100, man, this offensive line is going to roll Kansas City. For me personally, with my answer on this one, I'm going to go and give them an 80 out of 100. I kind of get sick and tired of how often on social media I see fans ripping on this O-line, and I'm just being honest with you. Anytime I see a dude who usually has an egg as a picture on Twitter or whatever on Instagram, when they're ripping apart the offensive line, I just think of these people as not real ones to me. Like, there's no way you're actually watching the football game, because essentially in every single metric that you look at, whether it's PFF, next gen stats, however you look at it, the Raiders have a top 12 offensive line. Yeah, they've had their ups and downs, but Carr and Brasillo has done a good job, especially over the past few weeks, dealing with a lot of injuries. And if the Raiders are going to take down Kansas City, they need a healthy offensive line, and they need a hell of a performance from Aiden O'Connell. Coming up here next, 3 big-name players who didn't practice today. And the fact that these 3 guys didn't practice, I know I have an update on at least 2 of them. However, the one player, man, is really kind of making me nervous here. I'll tell you about those 3 injury updates, but I do got to give some love to today's sponsor, Prize Picks, and I can't wait for Thursday Night Football tonight. Obviously, Chugs and I always get down, but I know how y'all are with Derek Carr, so I had to include him in my Prize Picks. But if anybody out there wants to go play, it's daily fantasy made easy. All you got to do is pick 2+ players, choose more or less. And if you want to get started, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. My picks for tonight's game: Matthew Stafford, more, 16.5 fantasy points. Derek Carr, less than 14.5 fantasy points. Alvin Kamara, more, 16 fantasy points. Kyren Williams, more, on 19.5 fantasy points. If this ends up hitting, I'm adding a little bit of money here to my wallet. But the reason why Prize Picks is so simple: quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Well, you know what makes the Raiders Report the #1 Raiders show in the world? The nation. So I want to know what you guys think. I'm taking the less on Derek Carr fantasy points. And for those of you that are wondering how Prize Picks works, it's 1 point every 25 yards, 4 points for a passing touchdown, -2 for an interception. Rushing touchdown is 6. So that's kind of how the point structure goes. More or less for Derek Carr tonight against the Rams. I'm going to go less. Coming up here on the show, let's get into 3 big-name players who did not practice today. The name that I'm going to start here with is the face of the franchise, the most important player on your team. It is Maxx Crosby. And I can promise you this: even though he didn't practice today, he's playing. There's no way in hell Crosby ain't playing in this game. He talked about his rivalry with Patrick Mahomes and was saying, like, if you can't get ready for this game, it's a real rivalry. There's a lot of respect there because they're both from Texas and obviously going up against each other twice a year. But Crosby will be out there. They're resting him. Essentially, if Max doesn't want to practice, I think we can all agree that he's earned the right to be able to go out there and get a stop. And speaking of, Crosby, this Raiders defense, if you could put me full screen here real quick, I think one of the coolest quotes that I saw from today was Jack Jones. And Jack Jones was asked, are you worried about the Chiefs receivers? And Jones gave a very honest and legit answer. If you want to see it, it's on my Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. But Jones basically said, I'm not worried about the Chiefs receivers. Mahomes is the magician. You stop the magician, you end the act. I think that's a dope freaking quote, man. All right, let's go to now back to the offensive side of the football. Josh Jacobs did not practice today. However, it does look like he is going to be able to go against Kansas City. It was reported last week that if the game would have been on Sunday, that he probably would have been able to play against the Chargers. They just didn't want to rush him back. And it kind of reminds me of, when you think about the Week 11 game, where we all thought Kolton Miller was going to be able to play against the Dolphins. However, they rested him so he'd be healthy for the Chiefs. I think it was do you want to go against the Chargers in a game that I think we can beat, going up against Easton Stick, to get that extra rest up against Kansas City on Christmas Day? Josh Jacobs is expected to play. Antonio Pierce expects Jacobs to play as well. However, if he is unable to go, you're going to look at the Zamir White, Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden show again. I would anticipate Zamir gets 75% of the work in between the tackles. Amir might be your third and long back, and Brandon Bolden, if he rushes for another 26-yard touchdown against the Chiefs, I will never say a bad thing about that man again. The injury that scares me is Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer did not practice today, and just because I don't have any word on it. I was not expecting that he was going to miss today's practice, so this one does make me a little bit nervous. And Crosby still dealing with that knee, but in terms of Michael Mayer not being able to go today, it's a toe injury. So the toe injury does make me a little bit nervous, and not going to lie, I'm hoping he's able to go out there and play, because you need all hands on deck to take down Kansas City. And actually, at the time that I'm making this video right now, the Raiders just released their injury report. Brandon Facyson has a shin issue, full participant. He's going to be okay to go. Jacob still dealing with that quad. Again, did not participate, expected to go. Andre James, limited with that ankle, is expected to play. And then Kolton Miller, shoulder, limited, is expected to play. Dylan Parham did not practice. He is sick, and I don't know if you guys have been following. Chat Sports here is like the most sick that I feel like this office has been since COVID. So there is a crazy, crazy illness out there. And Robert Spillane also was limited today. He's battling illness. DJ Turner, shoulder, did not participate. That is your injury report as it stands right now, the first day that the Raiders have practiced since dropping 63. For those that do not know, we go live every single Thursday. So there's usually a clown. He does Saints watch parties because of Derek Carr. Ours is going to be a lot better tonight. We're going to be giving away a Raiders jersey, so please tune in. Going to be a little festive, going to have a good time. Shout out to the great Tuna. He's been hinting that some stuff's going to go down today, so I had to wear the Eric Jasper jersey. Saints, Rams. Rams are 4.5-point favorites in Inglewood, but hey, I mean, this might even be a Raiders home game. Total over-under is 46 points in this one. Please join Jeremy, Chugs, and I tonight for our watch party. And for more updates on the Silver and Black, you guys know where to find me, at Mitchell Renz 365.